G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders Podcast. Today we've got a couple of great things to talk about. One would be the most memorable games of the 2023 season, which has just gone. We'll also take a look at some interesting statistics looking at the membership numbers going into 2024. We're also going to take a look at the most under pressure coaches in the AFL going into next season, as well as our World Sports segment, of course, with the cricket, NFL and soccer chat. But of course, let's roll the intro and get straight into it.
And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think Gather Round's going to be more than just AFL. I think this is next season.
It's at the handle at the back. Nick Dankos to give the prize home! He's done it!
But as always, guys, today we are back, and my brother Jack is here with me. Got a couple of things to talk about today as 2024 has begun. Today we're actually recording a few days early just because everyone's got to go back to work on the 2nd, including me and you. No, you don't.
I get
wait
more
till
days
the
off because
you got to work the rest of the week.
Because I worked at New Year's Eve and shit. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's all good. Have a good New Year's Eve, I guess.
Oh yeah, I worked. So it was brilliant.
Any New Year's resolutions you've already broken?
Oh yeah.
I was going to stop drinking, but that didn't really pan out quickly. That was 6 hours in. No. Anyway, firstly, I was going to talk about this last week, but I completely forgot about it, which is very professional of us.
Yeah, because we're very good at our jobs.
Oh yeah, our jobs of doing a podcast for 100 people.
I just meant in general. I just meant my job in general with every job that I do.
Oh, okay. That's a good way to put things out there, especially if you need to look for a new job ever again.
Consistent.
Fucking hell. Anyway, one of them, I think you guys may have seen the video on the channel of like the most memorable games of 2023, so you kind of know what mine are. But have you got like a 10 that you could think of? That
10.
you don't think you're 10? Could you think of a couple of games? Like
maybe I can think of a couple of others that you haven't.
Yeah,
mentioned. Okay. That's what I'll do. I think both the show. I think the second showdown wasn't that a little bit competitive? It was a bit more competitive, I thought.
That memorable, we can't even remember the fucking game.
Yeah. I guess the showdowns are more memorable for the build up most of the time.
I think an interesting one which someone brought up in the comments was the North Melbourne-Sydney game with the interchange infringement.
Yeah. I was surprised you didn't bring that up, to be honest, in your video.
Well, I think I had enough Swans games in there.
I think you put in a few.
Hey, to be fair, all those Swans games were pretty memorable, I thought.
Yeah, I guess they were. Yeah,
And none of them were in the top 4. Sorry.
Yeah, because the
5? No, 5. I don't think they're in the top 5. I think 4 of the top. I think between 10 to 6, there was 4 of them. Out of the 5.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I guess there was. I thought a couple of Hawthorn games were pretty memorable, just because like they did beat Collingwood during the season. There was a couple of games that like that no one expected them to win, that I thought were pretty memorable. But,
yeah, I mean that's a fair enough.
It wouldn't be up there in.
If you had to pick one to take out, which one would you have taken out for me? That I put in, because I think you did say to me that the West Coast Sydney game wasn't that memorable.
I get it was memorable because it was 200 points, but like because Sydney kicked 200, we got 200. But I don't know if it's really memorable. It was more blood. It was more, like I think Mark Howard said during the half the commentary, half the siren when he's like, "Oh, it was the bloodbath," which it was, but
I just thought because like the reason why I put that there, or the reason why I put the ones there, is because I thought that they were quite memorable games. I don't know, it's because I noticed them more because it was Swans games. Maybe that's But a lot of people don't really, like in the comments, maybe I'm wrong, but there weren't many comments that were saying like, these are completely wrong.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. So maybe I was right for once. Usually when I do rankings in any sort of video, there's like 20 fucking comments saying, you're a fucking idiot, they're not even close to right. Because my opinion is different, even though it's my opinion. I don't...
Yeah.
Anyway.
I thought, like some of the big games, like Anzac Day, I thought that was a pretty good game.
Yeah, I did look back at that. That wasn't a bad game.
Yeah.
Essendon had the lead at 3/4 time. Looked like they were going to hold on potentially, but Collingwood run over them. Was
the Freo game against Geelong down at Kardinia Park in your top 10?
No.
I just thought that was because no one wins down there. I think this year, last year now, they did lose a few games down there, but Freo don't normally win down there, so maybe that was...
Yeah, the only other time I can remember them winning it was that final.
With that, qualifying final. So they don't win down there a lot, so yeah.
I mean, there are already a few other Giants games. I don't even think I put the Giants beating Sydney in that. The Sydney Giants game.
Yeah,
the first one of the season.
When Toby Green kicked the goal late in the
late in the game after Sydney had a 4-goal lead or something with about 10 minutes to go. So that was another one as well. But I mean, it was very hard to bring in as many as I could have. I thought I got it pretty well. I think I tried to remember as many as I could have. Those are the ones that stood out to me. So that's where I kind of rank them. I guess Dreamtime, a lot of people were saying that maybe not should have been in there. I thought it was a pretty memorable game.
Yeah. Because
it was pretty ebb and flow for most of it, and Essendon were down by a couple of goals, and then Sam Durham had a really good last quarter and won them the game. So that was why that was in there.
But since Gather Round was such a big thing, not many of the games in Gather Round were memorable, really. If you think about it, they weren't really.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they were all good games.
But
maybe Port Adelaide and the Western Bulldogs could have been put in there, because that was actually a pretty good game. Or Essendon and Melbourne, that was a pretty memorable one. But again, Essendon won that game pretty convincingly.
Yeah, so they were.
I think at the end of the day, you're not saying that the other round wasn't a success, though.
Oh no, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that with all the build up and other stuff about it, the actual games, they were good, but there were some good games, but they weren't really memorable for the round that it was.
I think I'm mostly remembered for how the round went more than the games itself.
Because everyone will remember the first one, the first Gather Round. So,
and I think we've also noticed as well, even just on the ticket sales of Gather Round, that's just going to be really popular as the years go on. I mean, there's tickets sold out for most of the games already, especially all the games other than, I don't know if the GWS Gold Coast game is sold out yet. But you think every game outside of the Adelaide Oval are already pretty much sold out. I think the Sunday is just not sold out yet at Adelaide Oval. Which is like, we saw last year when they were saying it was sold out in half the ground. Well, not half the ground, but there was like at least 10 or 11,000 seats.
And they were saying sold out when there was still 45,000 there when it holds over 50. So
but I still think that Gather Round's just going to get bigger and bigger, and we're going to have to be ready to go when we get tickets from the future. But I think Gather Round's going to be great this year, and that's kind of something we can talk about. Like a couple of things going into next season, the AFL that we can look forward to, or whatever. I mean, I think Gather Round's going to be even bigger this year. I'm going to in 2024. I'll try to keep on saying that because I'll keep on saying this year, next year. But I think in 2024 it's going to be bigger and better because now everyone knows the concept of it, so to speak. But it's going to bring a lot of people over from interstate to South Australia.
And also, I think because last year, last season, it wasn't established till like late that where it was going to be, all that sort of stuff. So you didn't know where it was going to be.
I think there was only like 4 or 5 months of planning for it.
Yeah, so now that obviously it was always going to be in Adelaide, it's in there for the next couple of years. People can establish where it's going to be. It's normally in the first 6 or 7 rounds of the season.
Yeah.
So that people can start planning it, but before it's even
ready to go.
Established.
Like we even saw when we went to the games, most people that we were sitting around when we were like talking to people, they were in a state already.
Yeah.
So to see it come to next year, 2024 now, there's going to be so many people from interstate. I think they already said that like a quarter of the tickets or half of the tickets were sold from Victorians.
Yeah. Well, like because yes, that like we're from South Australia, but most of the time, not many people would go to every game from South Australia, or so like people that come from interstate come here and they go to every game. That's not it's not odd or they just make it a whole weekend trip.
Yeah.
But so it was nice to see those sort of people, talk to them about interstate, where they've driven from, flown from.
Come from. I think there's a couple of Western Australians who came from. A couple of West Coast supporters from Western Australia who came over and watched that debacle against the Geelong. But I mean, it's good to see that happening, and I do hope at the end of the day. I mean, I'd love it to be here every single year, which I just don't think is going to happen. I mean, I don't mind it if it would to move to a different state in a couple of years' time, so maybe we could go to a different state and watch them somewhere else, because I think that is a big, drawing point for other states, especially like New South Wales and Queensland.
Yeah.
I think New South Wales probably would be next to get it, because Queensland obviously had the grand final one year, and Perth obviously had the grand final as well, back in the COVID years, so I think it would be fair enough that it would be New South Wales. I don't think they couldn't have it down in Tasmania, because I don't think there's enough grounds.
No.
I guess there's 2. There's 2
yeah,
grounds.
But
I don't think the crowd would be good. The grounds aren't big enough. It depends on how big the new Tasmanian team's ground will be. I think they said, is it 20,000, 20,000, and it's under a roof?
Yeah, well, they keep changing it. So
Yeah, so I don't know how that's
establish
gonna
which one they're going to go with, but.
I know they want to get a roof over it, which is fair enough, but it's going to be really expensive. But I guess we're not going to really talk about the Tasmanian team too much today. There's not really a lot of news around it. That's probably one thing I'm looking forward to. I'd be interested to see how, Crean's birthday, another big game next year with Melbourne and Collingwood. Both teams will be up high.
Their response, Melbourne's response is for the off season, what they're going to do. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like a couple of teams like the Crows, Hawthorn, those two teams would be interested to see if they do reach that potential of going up. Crows making finals, Hawthorn could be making close to finals if they get a good run. Seeing how the likes of maybe Richmond or Geelong go, because both those teams are both of them are expected to go down.
Yeah.
So interested to see how they go. Even some high flyers like Sydney and Carlton, everyone is expecting them to be really big next year. Seeing if they can reach that.
Yeah.
See how that happens. See teams like last year, like St Kilda and Port Adelaide, who made finals. If they can back that up and have another really good season for them too. Collingwood and Brisbane, obviously, see if they can back it up again. Is there any teams that you're looking at next year that you're interested to see?
I think it's interesting. Not many people are talking about them, but I think the Bulldogs. They're a bit the unknown, like Fremantle were last season.
Yeah.
They're a bit of the unknown. They've got it. Like we always say, the Bulldogs have so much talent on their bloody list, and it doesn't reflect on the ladder when they're at the end of the season. So
yeah,
I think that they're going to be interesting to see where they land.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, Freo as well. Freo and the Bulldogs, I think, are really the unknown going into next year, because the Bulldogs still have the young key forwards who can get them a bunch of goals if they are consistent. They've got they've got the best midfielder in the game, really, in Marcus Bontempelli. Their defence is still pretty unknown.
I don't know what they. Yeah.
And if Liam Jones isn't there, they're going to struggle. That is one talking point. They've still got so many midfielders that have to play in different roles that they're not there for, like Treloar, McRae.
Good thing that Bailey Smith got injured then.
Yeah, well, that's true. But Bailey Smith, that's another big loss as well. I think he would have been big in their midfield this year, and interesting what happens at the end of the off season. Tom Morris already written him off to go to Collingwood or whatever.
One off the bat, straight off the year, straight start of the year.
Yeah. His resolution was that I have to mention him at least once an episode. I thought it was fair enough. Gold Coast as well is a big one.
Yeah.
Where are they going to? Gold Coast and the Giants. Can the Giants back it up again? Because they have obviously went on a big run in 2023. So can they back it up again? They could have a bit of a fall off, or are they going to kind of do what Collingwood did and just go on again?
Yeah.
I think I'd really be interested to see if the Giants can do that. That's probably all the team stuff. What I will talk about as well is the coaches, and that's what we were mentioning before. So with the coaches, obviously, we'll go through every single coach and we'll rank them based on 5 being the most under pressure coach. If they're really under pressure next year, they could almost be sacked. And 1 would be least under pressure. They're not going to be much talked about no matter what really happens. So we'll start off with Matthew Nicks at the Crows. Do you think that it's a big year for him? I think it would be a pretty big year.
I think it is. I think, we can say they should have made finals last year because of that stupid goal or whatever. They have to make finals in 2024. They have to. I still only think it's only a 3 out of 5 that he's under pressure. But if he doesn't make it, the pressure will be on him the year in 2025. So I think it's only about a 3, but I'd
probably say even a 4 for me, 3 or 4, because if he doesn't make finals, the pressure is going to mount really quickly. Especially being in South Australia, such a 2-club. Obviously, it's a 2-club state, and the pressure's already on one coach. They might as well pile on another. Matthew Nicks, a lot of this time as well, there are a lot of coaches that get their clubs out of the bottom of the ladder, like the Crows have been. We've seen him in the Gold Coast or whatever. Like Stuart Duke got them out of that area, finally got them to a spot, but couldn't get them to the next stage of finals.
And they need that.
So if Matthew Nicks, this year, I think it's a 3. 3, probably maybe a 4, but I think I'll go with sitting on a 3. He's pretty mildly under pressure at the moment, but if he doesn't make those finals this year, next year is going to be really under pressure, because we've seen coaches, if they can't get to that next stage of finals, the pressure just mounts considerably.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty big point there. Next we've got Brisbane, Chris Fagan. I think it's probably a 1 or a 2. to be honest. Oh, no, you know what? I'm going to say a 3 because Chris Fagan, he finally got him to a grand final, but again, they lost. So look, he's not going to get sacked if he gets into the grand final and loses again, but it's pretty hard to keep him as coach, keep on going when he's not getting him over that final hurdle.
I think it's close to... I think it's about 3.5, 4 because of that reason. And Brisbane have been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And he's getting close, but is he the man to get him to go all the way?
Yeah.
That's why I think he's a bit more under pressure than what maybe some people think.
Yeah. Next one, we're going to Michael Voss. I think it's a pretty quick one, to be honest. But anyway, Michael Voss, if this was mid-year last year, it would have been a 5.
Well, he was a 5.
It was a 5. It was almost gone. But obviously got him to the prelim final. Oh, it's a hard one because if they kind of finish at the mid-table, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. But if he makes, even if he finishes where they did, like, the ladder last year, the thing is also with Carlton is they had a really easy draw for a lot of the year. They had twice North Melbourne. I think they had twice North Melbourne. They definitely had twice West Coast, and they had quite an easy run. So that is going to be a talking point as well for Michael Voss because they did have a period where they had some pretty easy games.
Yeah, and that's why they got on that run.
Yeah, it's why they got on the run, and it does help having an easy run at points in the season. So I'm going to put it at a 2. To be honest, because I think that he finally got Carlton to a position where they make finals and win finals, and he got them to a prelim. So if he can, I think at the moment, sitting at this point, I'd say about a 2. That's probably me. I don't think he's very under pressure at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a 3. I think also he needs to get Harry Mackay able to kick goals. He needs to get him back into the...
They've never really been able to get Kerno and Mackay both firing.
And I think if they can get them both, they can finish top 2.
Yeah,
really, they can finish top 2 if they can get both firing. But
that's it because they've got one of the best defensive combinations in the comp with Young and Wiedering, and also the small defenders as well. They've got one of the best midfielders, one of the best midfields in the comp with Chera, Cripps, and Walsh, I think he's gonna burst onto the scene next year. And then they've got a really good forward line, minus maybe a small forward, but even Fantasia coming in could really add to those stocks. So
I think it's a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair enough call. Collingwood, I think it's 1, to be honest. Craig McRae. I don't think we're talking too much about that. He's the least under pressure coach probably going into next year, if I'm being honest.
Because they've got the list, they've got everything, and they've got the experienced players around.
And they've obviously got the Premier. They're
they got the
Premiers, so there's not much talking point for Craig McRae. Brad Scott, interesting one, because Essendon, once again, after they looked like they were going to be making finals, they just bottled it.
Yeah,
again. And now they've gone to the trade period, they've gone to the off-season, they've picked up a lot of players in the trades, they've picked up quite a few players in the draft. Now they go on to a new season. They've obviously had a lot of talking points in the off-season about having their training camps, paying for it by themselves, I believe. Have a training camps over in America. Brad Scott, I think, basically said if you're not acting like professional footballers, then you won't be in my team next year. So he's had a lot of good talking points. He has been a coach of a club that's got to finals, but has never really been a focal point. I would say North Melbourne never really got challenged. I don't be honest. I don't ever think those years when they were like in the top 4. I never really thought they were going to make grand final.
No,
they were never that dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think Brad Scott, as under pressure, I think it's probably a 3 for me. But if the early season's poor for Essendon, which we have seen in the past, that's gonna go up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it's a 3. They need to start establishing their forward line because Peter Wright was injured for the start of last season, but this season, they just need to find out their forward line, I think.
And we have seen though that if Peter Wright can come in early in the season, have a good pre-season, come in well, they've got one of the best hybrid forwards in the comp now in Kyle Langford. One of the most underrated players in the comp, I've thought, for quite a while.
Yeah. And
he finally burst onto the scene in 2023 with a 50-goal season.
Yeah.
I think he's a real dark horse for a really big season for Essendon again. And I think that's where they can really shine. If they can get Peter Wright to score some goals, they can have some real pressure forwards. And then even if Kyle Langford plays as a second tall, like we saw like with Richmond back in 2017 with Jack Riewoldt being the tall forward, and then everyone else is around him. That could be a way that Essendon start to build as a forward line next year.
Yeah.
I think that's a big talking point. But to the next coach, this is a high five for me.
Yeah.
Justin Longmuir. I think he's top 3 most under pressure coaches going into next year.
Yeah, 100%. And with their off season from their trade period and all that, yeah, it's a high five.
It's a high five. I don't see how Fremantle can even bounce back, to be honest. They've lost players that were important, Lockie Schultz and Liam Henry.
Yeah.
They've brought Jeremy Sharp in, which is like, I don't know how good he'll be, but I don't think he's I don't think he's going to change their season around by any means.
I think the interesting thing is because he's coming home back to Perth.
Yeah. But I mean, is he gonna rise you up the ladder a couple of positions? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. So the other good thing is that they signed Sean Darcy, but is it gonna?
That's two ruckmen. We've already seen that Melbourne had that problem and got rid of Brodie Grundy really quick.
And it just I don't know if it really works. Like Sean Darcy isn't a forward.
And I don't think Luke Jackson can play that midfield hybrid that they're trying to expect him to be. I don't know how that's going to work.
And I think another big thing is Nat Fyfe.
Yeah.
Can they get him on the field? And if they can
he perform? That's the question.
Where is he going to play? I don't know.
He would have to play forward.
He would, but he needs to be able to kick straight.
Yeah. And he's not quick enough now to be a pressure forward, so he's going to have to be like a third tall.
Yeah.
And Tabner as well is a big talking point because he's always injury prone. He needs to be firing on all cylinders for Fremantle to even... If Fremantle are to make top 8 next year, Brayshaw and Sarong are probably going to have almost Brownlow years.
Yeah.
Their defence is their lucky spot. They are in a very good position in defence.
Yeah.
They've got very good... Their lineup going into 2024 probably is... That's their most set part of the field.
Maybe they're in that defence is maybe in the top 5 in the league.
Yeah. But their midfield... their midfield's okay, like their first 3 or 4.
But they don't have any depth.
It drops off very quickly. Yeah. And their forward line, they've lost the best small forward in their team. Were one of their best pressure forwards as well. Probably, the best, most potent small forward, in my opinion. But he's also probably one of their best pressure forwards as well. Tabner is always injury prone. Jai Amos was carrying that tall forward line last year.
At the age of what? Less than 20?
Yeah, less than 20. So I think that Justin Longmuir is under a lot of pressure. And being in Western Australia as well, when there's both the teams are under pressure, especially when it is Fremantle, the pressure piles on really quick. So I think he's probably top 3 most under pressure coaches next year. Another one which I think is under pressure is Chris Scott. Now, Geelong, obviously, a lot of injuries in 2023, won the grand final in 2022. A lot of people aren't expecting them to bounce back. But as a culture that's been successful for so many years, they kind of need to bounce back here. Yeah. I'm honestly going to put Chris Scott at a 4.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the same. I think that they don't have that much youth in their team, and they need to be able to find that next list that's going to get them to the finals, get them to a premiership, and they've got so many players over the age of 30 that are they going to be there at that next premiership?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked last week about Tom Stewart moving potentially into the midfield next year. I think that's a really dumb idea. I don't know how long that's going to last.
I don't think we said this last week about it, but because he is over 30, how many years are you expecting him to play for? Yeah. And let's be honest, he's more chance of getting a big serious injury, I believe, in the midfield than he is in defence.
Yeah, it's probably a fair call. I mean, especially with like soft tissue injuries as well. But I think Chris Scott's he's not as under pressure as maybe like Ken Hinkley and Justin Longmuir and that, but he's definitely up there. And if they don't make finals again, 2 years in a row, Geelong don't make finals, he would be really under pressure. Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to be in the firing line late in the season if they don't make finals, but I definitely think he'll be a big talking point later in the year if they're not going to make the finals in 2024. After that, we get to Damien Hardwick at the Gold Coast. This is obviously a 1. He's nowhere going to get fired after a year. No. Unless they finish by bottom 2, which I mean, I doubt it. And even then, I don't think they would fire him.
No. He's probably the most...
He's probably one of the least under pressure coaches.
I think You say 1, I think it's a 2. Like, but it doesn't mean much. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. Adam Kingsley, probably a 1. Again, he had a really good year in his first year. It'd be interesting to see how he backs it up, but I don't think he's very under pressure at all. I think he's definitely building something, Adam Kingsley.
Yeah,
Because arguably, if it wasn't for Craig McRae, I think he probably was one of the best coaches of the year.
Yeah.
So I think he was definitely up there. He's definitely building something. As long as he has his stress ball, he should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Adam Kingsley's pretty fine at the GWS. And they're definitely going to build something there. And the fact that in the off season he was able to keep players at the club, that's a big one.
It was a strong statement, I thought. As a club that they kept those players.
I mean, they had players not wanting to leave, but they had players like out of contract, like Himmelberg and those sort of players, and all of them signed, which was amazing for one to keep it under the cap, but also to keep those players and potentially build something in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Hawthorn, Sam Mitchell. I really don't think that there's a lot of pressure for him yet. If they can build onto a season that we are expecting, I think he's definitely a 2. But if they do finish around the where they finished this year, I think there will be a bit of talking points. But I think around 2 at the moment.
I think it's a 2, yeah. I think they've got the list. I think the board and all that know what he's building, and they'll give him the time to do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Simon Goodwin. Oh, this is tough. I think this is probably around a 4 or a 5. A lot of people are thinking that Melbourne may drop off this year, and they've had so many off-season antics this season, and last season as well. I think this is around a 4. Melbourne have built a pretty good list in the past few years, but 2 straight years going out in straight sets in finals puts you under pressure, puts you in the firing line. Now, I think they'll have a pretty good year in the home and away season, as they tend to do. They're pretty good at home at the MCG. They're not the worst away, so I think they'll be fine going into the regular season. But if they go out straight sets or they go out straight away in the finals again, Simon Goodwin's job will be in question.
Part of I don't know. Like, it's probably a 4 or 5, but I mean, like, they need to find a way to kick goals.
Yeah,
they can't rely on Bailey Fritsch to do it.
Yeah, and they can't rely on their defence. Yes, it's a very good defence, probably the best in the league.
Yeah.
But they can't rely on that defence. Well, maybe second. But they can't rely on Stephen May and Jake Lever to keep every single team in the comp under 60, 70 points every single game for them to win. You just can't do that.
No.
Because teams eventually will find a way to get goals. And if you have an off day against a big team, or even just a little team, and get beaten, when they get 100 points, I don't see Melbourne getting 100 points as a team. So even in the off-season, they didn't pick up much to help their forward line. They picked up Shane McAdam.
It's not really a tool.
He's not. I don't see him kicking 30 goals. And Jack Billings as well as a midfielder / half forward.
Yeah,
I don't see much coming out of him in goals. So they're going to have to lift somewhere. I think Cozzy Pickett's a big one. And their midfield depth going down means Christian Petrarca will likely have to play midfield. He won't be able to play forward and kick goals. I mean, he'll kick goals in the midfield, but yeah, that's another one. And obviously, Joel Smith will be out for the first few games of the season. So yeah, they're going to have to find that structure for a forward line, but then also use that to kick their goals.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are you saying? 4 or 5?
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah.
Fair enough. Alistair Clarkson. This is probably one of the toughest ones because.
Yeah, he wasn't there with all the...
He wasn't there last year for a lot of his, the mental struggles that he had. He comes now with a lot of players leaving. I think they had over 1,000 games of experience just leave. So they got, I think, the youngest list, playing group going into next year.
But they've had so many draft picks.
And they've finished bottom so many years in a row with all these draft picks. I think it's around a 3, how under pressure they are.
I think it's only a 2.
Okay.
I think that... Yeah, with all the mental struggles he's had the last year, I think they'll give him some time. Yeah. Because I don't think they want to move on such a high privilege, profile coach. So, and so much press and stuff when he first arrived there, I think they'll give him some time.
I do get that point, but this team has been locked to the bottom for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
They have not moved.
And the thing is that just imagine if Larky gets injured for round 1, they're screwed.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. They need to find another forward, a big forward that can kick goals. But
yeah, and it looks like the Charlie Comben is going to be going back this year in defence. So, I mean, well, I think he's been playing there quite a bit before he got his injury.
Yeah.
So, or at the end of his career, end of the year. So, I think that's something that they can work with. But like you said, other than Nick Larkey kicking goals, if he gets injured, they've only got Cam Zerha really to kick goals. So, that's why, I get why you're saying a 2 because they want to give him some more time. But this team has had so much time to do something, and they've just been locked to the bottom. As a fan, if you're a fan of North Melbourne, how can you be excited going into the next season knowing that basically you're going to be locked to the bottom again?
Yeah.
And there's no, is there any sort of light at the end of the tunnel here? There's nothing there because they've got nothing to look forward to. They've got these draft picks that, will be good in a couple of years.
They've got the Good Friday game. They've always got that one.
Oh, good on them.
Yeah,
It's amazing they're going to go and get smashed
Yeah.
on Good Friday. Are they playing Carlton this year? I think they are.
I think
Again.
so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I don't care. I don't really look at the North Melbourne fixture.
Anyway, next we've got another high-profile under-pressure coach, which is Ken Hinkley. Now, I'll say a 5 right off the bat, but obviously with you being the Port supporter here, what do you think?
You want me to take a shot?
You take the reins.
All right. Well, Ken Hinkley somehow got a new contract at the end of August, which I thought was the most stupidest thing, and like what most people thought. The season finishes in September.
Yeah.
In finals, so why would you give him the contract?
Well, to be fair, David Koch said he was going to wait till August to give it.
Yeah, I know that, but why would you wait till August? You should have waited till September to see where we actually finished. Because once he got the contract, we lost more games than we won.
Yeah.
At that time, so was it a smart choice? Probably not, in my opinion. And we've seen with other coaches that have been sacked, and then the new coach comes in, and Craig McRae, Adam Kingsley, Michael Voss, they all made finals and they made a good run at it and they got to a prelim finals, win the premiership.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I mean, Craig McRae went a prelim in his first year.
Yeah, so. Prelim, exactly. So, he's a 5 and I think he's the most under pressure coach, even more than Justin Longmuir.
Yeah, I'd probably say that too.
With all the inclusions, Zerk Thatcher, Radicalier, all them, he's got the list. And the new captain in Rosie and vice captain in Butters.
Yeah, exactly, yep. And Willem Drew just re-signed as well.
Yeah, like, it's a big year for Port Adelaide and they have to make the top 4. But I don't know if that list does get in top 4.
If they made the prelim this year, 2024, does he keep his job?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll leave it there.
And, yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that there's just... Yeah, I don't know what Port Adelaide's list is gonna. Their defense is so under pressure. They don't have. I don't think their defense is gonna make them premiers.
Yeah, I could probably say that. They do have a lot of tall defenders, but at the end of the day, it's not just that wins you a premiership. You think of Collingwood this year. Isaac Quaynor was one of their best defenders, and they also had Jeremy Howe back there helping in the intercept defence and all that sort of stuff. The Port Adelaide, I think Radicalier and that will help being an extra tool, so Alier can play as that intercept.
Yeah.
But even just playing as like a small defenders, there's not that many good ones at Port Adelaide that you can think of, and there's a lot of all those top teams have some really good small forwards.
Yeah.
So that's maybe another talking point as well. But yeah, I think like you said, he's he's probably under the most pressure going into next year. Adam Uze just got to Richmond. I mean, it's probably a 1. Yeah, you can't really be under pressure under your first year, but we obviously saw David Noble a couple of years get sacked on his first year. So
I think
Richmond are looking like they're going to go down.
And he needs to somehow get Tom Lynch back on the field, and there's some other things like Jacob Kaczynski's, I think, an interesting player going into this year because he's putting in the shoes of Jack Greenwell. So,
and has he ever been that sort of type? I mean, Jack Rewald, especially when they were in their premiership years, he was crashing packs. He was always bringing it to the ground. That's what Jacob Kaczynski's going to have to do. Yeah. Because Tom Lynch now, especially, is probably going to have to play as that, full forward. So Jacob Kaczynski's going to have to play between the wings. He's going to have to play from 40 out to like at least mid wing, centre wing. Play that sort of role to take marks as well. And at Hawthorn last year especially, he wasn't even in their best team.
No.
So can he stand up? can Richmond finally bring some of these young midfielders that we've heard about for a bit now, actually bring them into this midfield group and, perform, with obviously Cochin leaving.
Yeah.
And they got to stop relying on Dustin Martin.
No, yeah, 100%. And, 100%. They've got to stop relying on a 30-plus-year-old.
Yeah. We understand that Dustin Martin was one of the best players that we've seen in this last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So 8 years probably. But now they've got to rely. They've got to be the turnover here.
Yeah.
Dustin Martin. He could play midfield, but he's got to get. It's probably time when they put some youth through this midfield. Give Shea Bolton give him the first 10 games. You play solid midfield and see how he goes. Put the likes of Tom Dow in there, Jack Ross. Jack Graham, obviously. Chuck these young guys in there as well. Give them a red hot crack and see what they can produce.
Yeah.
If they can't produce, then obviously you got the Taranto and Hopper in there as well. But these young guys, put them through this midfield and give them a go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've also got to find some defensive midfielders as well, because these midfield like Taranto and Hopper are a lot more attacking midfielders, if I would say that. So they've got to find some like the two-way runners as well, which I think Marlon Pickett could do. If he's not. Doing whatever the fuck he's doing in the off season off the field, but I think Adam Uze is probably a one just because he just signed. But if it gets to the end of the year and they're right down the bottom of the ladder and there's not a lot of progress,
like what everyone is thinking,
like what a lot of people are thinking, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Next we get to Ross Lyon. I don't know, interesting one.
I think it's a 3.
Yeah, I'd probably say around a 3. But again, this is St Kilda's issue that they've had for. What people probably thought was going to be the biggest issue with Ross Lyon coming back, they just don't find a way to score.
No.
Probably have Melbourne's issue, but the fact is, at least St Kilda have a key forward and a couple of small forwards to get to who are potent enough to kick goals. Dan Butler, Jack Higgins, obviously Max King. Jack Hayes obviously came in late in the season, performed as well as like a ruck forward. Tim Membry, if he can come back from his mental struggles, hopefully he does, because that was really sad at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But those are the type of players that need to start scoring. But their midfield and that as well have to get it in there.
Yeah.
You obviously saw, probably it was like the COVID year in 2020 of the Swans. Obviously, they had that, I think it was the game against Richmond, when we played against Richmond, and we had a terrible game because it was such a sluggish game, even though it was in a bit of the wet, but because Sydney were playing that defensive football that we've known for like 10 plus years, 15 plus years really, since Paul Rose. But then that was kind of the turning point for the Swans when they, like their midfield and that were like, we have to change this or else we're just going to be at the bottom ladder every year. And that's kind of towards the end of 2020 into 2021, the Swans changed their game style to be a high pressure midfield and that. And we saw that they, made finals in 2021, made the grand final in 2022, and made the finals again in 2023 with that sort of, attributes. And Ross Lyon, I'm not saying he has to change. Well, he has to change a little bit, but he has to bring the people around him as like coaches to get them to be a more attacking team.
Yeah.
Because you can be the best defense in the comp. Like they have one of the best defenses in the comp, but like you think of Collingwood, for example, in the grand final and stuff. People were questioning their forwards as well, but the likes of Bobby Hill down there helping out, winning the Norm Smith, and there was a lot of midfield goals coming from them as well. They need to find more midfield goals, and they need to find a way to get forward where they look a lot more potent.
Yeah.
So.
And their forward line, they were decimated with injuries at the start of the season last year.
To be fair though, that's when they performed.
Yeah, and it was probably the way that they performed it, because they were like, we've got no one else, we've got to rely on you guys, and they played brilliantly, and they were up on the top of the ladder at one point.
Yeah, when it was gather round, it was 1v. They were the top team, I believe. They were the only team undefeated.
Yeah.
Before Collingwood, and then Collingwood beat them. But yeah, I think at the moment I'm sitting at a 3 because it's not. They did make the finals in 2023, which is the biggest reason.
And no one expected it.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, are they gonna? If like at the end of the year, if they get to the end of the year not making finals, and they just look like the defensive group that we've all expected from a Ross Lyon team, the pressure will mount. And St Kilda, probably one of the least successful teams in AFL history, they need to start making finals and putting some pressure on, because since 2011, this team has not done much. 2012 to 2024 now, they have done very little. So what have they made the best? A semi-final, I think, in 2020 in the COVID year. I think that's the best they've done.
I think that's the best they've done. Yeah.
So this team needs to perform big. So
Ross Lyon coming back, I'm not saying he's a bad thing, but they need to do something this year.
Yeah.
Next, we got John Longmire. Fucking idiot. I am a sponsor supporter, by the way. That's embarrassing from me. What would you say first, like a number? And then I'll go on to what I think.
I think it's close to a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say, why?
I think because they've got the list. I think that list, with what they brought in Sydney, that they're going for it this season.
Yeah.
And yes, Buddy's a huge loss. We won't sugarcoat that, but it's going to be interesting what their forward line looks like if after about 3 weeks they realise that they can't play all 3 tools and all that. With Brody Grundy coming in, it's going to be interesting. They've got the list.
What do you think the pass mark for Sydney is?
Top 4 prelim.
Yeah, I'll probably say the same. I'm going to say 3 or 4. I think 3.5 probably, because Sydney don't sack coaches,
No.
especially for the last 20 years. So I'm not going to say
They've
they're
only
gonna
had
sack.
like 2 coaches in
Yeah,
that
we've had
span.
Paul Roos and John Longmire, obviously. So I'm going to say a 3.5. But I 100% agree with everything you just said. Sydney have built now. Taylor Adams coming in, Brody Grundy for the experience. James Jordan's in as well to try and bring some, youth to their midfield, but also a different attribute. Like, he's a runner, which is maybe but also Taylor Adams and that is being that grunt into the midfield.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. Sydney's forward line, I agree. End of last year, it kind of dropped off on that 3-pronged forward line. I think that Hayden McLean had a massive end of the year.
Yeah.
Joel Amartey and Logan McDonald are a bit of question marks. I do believe their potential is big, and Logan McDonald I think could be one of the best key forwards in the comp if he can build. But at the end of the year, that 3-pronged forward line just didn't exactly work.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see how that goes in round 1. Maybe with a whole pre-season together, those 3, they could work. I don't think it's a bad thing. We saw, obviously, the likes of the Crows back in 2017. They played 3 tall forwards and they were potent. We've seen 3-pronged forward lines in the past work, even Brisbane to an extent. But can Sydney get these 3 to go well, but also have that pressure that they had in 2022, which they did have in 2023 as well. But I think that's a very big talking point. Errol Goulden will grow again. Their midfielders, another year into them, the likes of Rowbottom, Warner, even the likes of even Sheldrick, who had a bit of an injury at the end of the year, but also had a good, period. McInerney's going to have to improve as well with the loss of Stevens. Just those players getting an extra year into them, I think that's going to be big. I would probably go 3.5 just because Sydney just don't do it. If they don't make finals, which I don't see happening, knock on wood. But if they don't make finals, that's when Justin Longmire will be under pressure. John Longmire will be under pressure. Fuck me. Anyway, I think that's probably fair enough. Sydney, like you said, top 4 prelim. Fair, that has to be their pass mark this year.
Yeah.
Well, prelim at least. I mean, if they make 5th and get prelim, that's fine. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Adam Simpson is next. I can't believe he kept his job.
No, I can't either.
You can't tell me that he deserved it. I'm sorry. I know there are a lot of West Coast supporters who are in support of him, but how can you lose games on the regular by over 100 points and keep your job?
And concede 200 points at one point.
Yeah, exactly. They have some young guys coming in. I think they had a pretty good off-season. Harley Reid's going to be big for them. Obviously bringing in Flynn and the other guy that I'm forgetting now. Brockman, that's it. Yeah, Kent Brockman. Was pretty big. I think that was pretty good. The likes of Jinby having another extra year into him will be big. If they can keep their players on the field, I think they can have an okay year. I don't think they'll finish outside the bottom 4. I'm not thinking that by any means. But he has to be a 5.
Yeah,
surely.
He's a 5.
I mean, what happens if they go to their first 3 rounds of the season and they lose by 100 points in any of their first 3 games? Or even if they in the first half of the season, if they lose games on the regular by an average of like 50, 60 points, which they were doing, and nothing's changed, this is just a wasted year for West Coast.
Yeah. He could be the first coach sacked.
Well, I think he would be. I think he will be.
Yeah, it's pretty much, it'll be week by week. Is this the week he's going to get sacked? Is this the week he's going to get sacked?
Well, we were told at the start of the year in 2023 that West Coast have a new game plan that's like going to change how West Coast play.
Their excuse was, we've got so many injuries, we can't really employ it.
There was no change to their game
No.
plan whatsoever. Now, I understand they have a lot of injuries, but they've had that for years. That's on them now.
They've had it
That's not on just...
since before COVID, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
You can't blame that excuse every single year. Oh, we've got a lot of injuries. Look, every club has injuries, but there's teams out there that, like, you can't even bring up Port Adelaide. They had their 13-game winning streak with the injuries that they were having. So you can't just bring that up. And they've got a list that was, you know, there was a lot of experience on that list that could keep them going, that they were, like, what they were doing. And towards the end of the year, they got a couple of close games and a couple of wins. But to the end of the day, let's be honest, a lot of clubs that they were beating, like, they nearly beat Essendon, they did beat the Bulldogs. Not exactly the top echelon of AFL teams.
Yeah.
So, I think Adam Simpson... I think that Ken Hinkley and Justin Longmuir are probably more under pressure on the state that they are actually performing. And, you know, but... At the end of the day, I think Adam Simpson's probably most likely, if any of these coaches are to be sacked, they would be.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, he would be.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a high 5. Yeah. Last one is Luke Beveridge. I think it's a 5 again, to be honest. I think that he is so under pressure. Again, they have another year of mediocrity. They didn't make finals. The year before that, they just made finals, and they got demolished in the second half against Fremantle in that first final.
Yeah.
2021, they made the grand final, but again, second half, they got demolished.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they were a bit lucky to get all the way through, I'll be honest. But they did get it through, so they have to give him credit for that. And he has been able to get them to grand finals, which, you know, no coach of the Bulldogs has been able to do before Luke Beveridge for a very long time.
Yeah.
So they obviously have that. But at the end of the day, he's been ruling the roost by himself, really, for a lot of years, which has worked. But now he's going to have to, you know, palm off some jobs to other people to get this team back. And I know people mention the list and they say, oh, maybe it's not that good as we keep on saying. But I think they have a pretty good list. With one of the best midfielders, some of the best midfielders in the comp in their team. Treloar, Liberatore, one of the best, probably the best clearance player in the comp. Bontempelli, one of the best midfielders in the comp. McRae, who has been Australian before. These guys, they're a bit older, but I still think that they are some of the best midfielders in the game.
Yeah, they're old, but they're not. I don't think
They're not ancient.
Yeah,
let's just put it that way.
they're not fucking Geelong's midfield.
Yeah, exactly. They're not walking on. They're not using bloody like walking sticks and stuff. Their forward line, I think, could use a couple of like better small forwards or whatever.
They need more small forwards. They can't rely on Cody Waitman.
Yeah.
He's a good small forward, but they don't really have anyone else.
Yeah, and I mean, if their 3-prong forward line doesn't work when they don't have enough small forwards to help them out on the ground. If it's only Cody Waitman throwing himself around trying to get a free kick, and the other 2 or 3 that are around there are not doing anything, their midfielders need to score more, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think Luke Beveridge is under so much pressure. If they don't make finals again, which a lot of people are predicting, can he keep his job? I mean, it's another.
I think he was close to losing it last season.
Yeah.
But I think like you said that they
especially after that West Coast game as well.
Yeah.
That was a very.
That was a long week for the Bulldogs fans and in the board and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like you said, they only made the grand final 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I think that was also a thing like. He only got it 3 years ago. He can still probably do it.
Yeah.
But he needs to figure out what his team's going to be.
Yeah. And not change the team every single week.
Yeah,
to bring out.
because we've always known it, that he doesn't keep the same team in.
And he always keeps in odd players like O'Donnell or whatever. And it's like, look, no disrespect to the guy, but was he doing that much for them up forward and then went back and he wasn't doing that much there either?
Yeah. And like people like, what was it? Artie Jones and shit, stuff like that, and
Buku,
who was getting Jones was getting like 2 touches and doing nothing, and maybe getting an occasional tackle.
Yeah,
like,
and it's like players in the VFL like Buku Kamas and stuff. He kicked 40 plus goals. I think he was 3rd in the goal kicking for the VFL. Wasn't getting a game.
Yeah.
Like, what does that make sense?
Yeah.
But and he decided to stay, which was odd. But anyway. I think that's really what we've got down to. We kind of talked for quite a while, I just realised. So I guess we'll move on to our World Sports segment. I think we kind of ranked them pretty well. Let us know down below if you think that the different rankings for each of the coaches next year, if you think any coaches are more under pressure or less under pressure than we think. But we'll get to World Sport. And first of all, we'll talk about the cricket. Australia won their second test by 79 runs. They were very close to losing it.
They were. If you look at Pakistan, they think they should have won it. Well, and to be honest, they probably should have.
Yeah.
But even with that DRS decision, I think it was out. But
and I mean, Pat Cummins had a massive game as well. He carried us over the line.
Yeah, he carried us
luckily.
again.
Which, I mean, good captains are supposed to do.
Yeah.
But again, I guess the crowd is another talking point as well. Day one was rained out. Well, not rained out. There was a lot of rain in that first day. I think it was a pretty decent crowd. But by day 4, now I can get that a lot of people weren't really expecting the game to be done by day 4 because it was pretty quick. There was a lot of wickets going down. But I think there was only about 20,000 fans in day 4, which is at the MCG not a very good look. So I don't know what to say. I still think that having Pakistan as a test team over here is not going to bring the biggest crowd. So I get that. Have you seen Basil Zemplis? I didn't even know he's a politician now. Did you know that?
No.
He's like, I don't know what he is in Perth, but he was making all these like jokes about, I bet you the beaches in Victoria are a lot better. Or some must be good or something.
Yeah, no. He said it's not like they can go to the beach with all the shit weather. Why wouldn't you go to why wouldn't you go to the MCG?
Yeah, I'm like, shut up, bro. You're a fucking
It's like,
politician now.
in
You
the
weren't there
thing-
got a commentator to begin
No,
with. So shut up. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I thought that was really funny when two politicians, like these rich people, like throwing slaps at each other like fucking little pretend dogs or whatever. It's like, who gives a fuck? Shut up. Anyway, like, I don't care. Like, I think if people want to go watch the cricket, that's more than fine. If you don't want to go watch the cricket, I don't care. I'm not someone who's going to sit there and say, I can't believe the people of Victoria didn't go and watch the cricket. Are you kidding me? Or the people in Perth. But I still think 20,000 to a game on, I think it was on a Friday, is quite low to only have 20,000 at the MCG.
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, it was a Friday.
Yeah.
So, and when a lot of people have time off at this point of the year, a little bit surprising. But I still think it's very hard to get people to the cricket nowadays. And I think the BBL is kind of getting a little bit more popularity this season. I've seen a lot more crowds starting to build a bit now because we're getting into it, which I think is very good.
I think the one thing about the BBL is that they took 5 days off for the test match in Perth. Then they played some games to start off with, and they took the time off for the Perth test. Then they played some more games, and then obviously they took the break off for Christmas, and then they played some more games. It's like, you need the consistency if you want to get the momentum for the crowds, but they are getting better crowds at the moment, so that is good to see.
Yeah. Not really a lot of other cricket stuff that I really wanted to take a look at. I mean, Australia lost last night. Adelaide lost in the New Year's Eve game last night, which was atrocious.
To the Stars.
Which is, how do we get 208 runs and they just let them run over us that easily?
Yeah.
Did you notice, though, I don't know if anyone else noticed this at the Adelaide Oval, they brought in the bloody boundary. Not that it didn't really matter, because I think a lot of them were hit over the fence anyway, but the boundaries, like the ropes, they were brought in so far. If you go look at the replays, look especially around the down the ground.
They always bring them on.
Yeah, but I swear they brought them in at least another extra 10 meters. Like, I think that's like on your mindset. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go for more big hits because they're in more. And most of them were getting hit over the fence, so it's not like that's a big deal. But I think it does leave the mindset in the batsman like, oh, I can just slog and it's not going to matter because it's going to go over the rope anyway.
Yeah.
Because especially on the on and off side, looking at it like the ropes, the boundary line, like the boundary width, it's not that far anyway.
No.
But down the ground, they've brought them in so far now that like it's almost like a circle.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was so funny. That's why it was like this high scoring of it, which is like, I get that. It's like, it's very entertaining to see the big hits. But when I watch cricket, I think the most entertaining part is seeing the wickets.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
And like with they obviously change the width of the ground when the test match happens. They always leave it a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that, but
Yeah, does it really matter?
Yeah.
I mean, I get like obviously they want more runs in T20 cricket, but at the end of the day, does it leave like a lot of run? Like if they brought the
they can still make 3 or 4. They can still run 3 or 4.
Yeah.
If they do it for the same test match.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. Like I said, I don't think there were many that were going to be like caught or whatever if it went to that far. But I think, like I said, if the mindset of the batsman is, oh, it's only a 50-meter boundary, I'm going to hit this. I'm going to swing as hard as I can. And the fact that my bat is about 3 inches wide, I'm going to be able to get an edge on it, and it's going to fly 80 meters anyway. So that's just what I thought. I don't think there was much else about cricket. Did you have anything to talk about? No. So we'll move off into our soccer segment. And like I said, we're doing this on New Year's Day because I have to go back to work and I'm going to be tired. So I thought that we would do this a bit earlier instead of doing it on a Wednesday. But there are a little bit of Premier League talking points. Chelsea won 3-2 over Luton. We're very lucky to win that game.
They were lucky. Did you see Thiago Silva's reaction after the game?
No.
So the camera was pointed at him, and he kept on pointing at him for like 15, 30, like 20 to 30 seconds. And at the end of it, he's like, "Stop filming me. I don't want to be filmed," because he looked pretty disappointed. Obviously, they nearly coughed up a 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, he looked pretty pissed.
Yeah. I want to say one point though, that Cole Palmer is like, I don't know, 2021, and he's carrying Chelsea to wins now. This guy was on Manchester City's list last season, but he kicked 2 goals. I think he set up the third one.
Yeah.
He's having a massive year for Chelsea. I can't believe Nick. I looked at this. I know he had that hat-trick game against Tottenham, but he's one of the top scorers in the Prem this year because of how many games he's. I think he's got 8 goals. No, Nicholas Jackson.
Oh yeah.
The biggest flop. And I'm not going to sit here and say, he's not actually doing that bad if he's that high up.
Even that hat trick he got, yes, it obviously.
It was the easiest hat trick you've ever seen.
It was the easiest hat trick you could ever get.
Yeah.
Like, this has come from 2 people that never played professional soccer, but we're just saying.
Professional, anyway, so we're not that bad. Anyway, another one as well as Chelsea is Nkunku. Sorry, he came back. So he was like one of the best players in the Bundesliga last year for Leipzig. Got transferred to Chelsea, but he's been injured, I think, for most of the season so far. He's come in now and he's done some pretty good things for Chelsea, which is really good to see. So hopefully he can come in and perform well. I think he's not a striker. Well, I don't think he's a striker. He's not big enough to be a striker, but he's definitely a really pacey number 9, number 10, as you could call it. So that's going to be interesting if Chelsea can bring him along to the rest of the season. Looking at other results, we've got Aston Villa won 3-2 to Burnley. Lucky win again. Crystal Palace won 3-1 to Brentford. City won 2-0 against Sheffield United. Wolves won 3-0 to Everton. And Everton now
Everton
right back
lost,
again.
Yeah, Everton lost their last 3 games, so they're back into the pack. It's like, they had so much momentum when they first got the 10-point deduction. Now they're like, well,
I think they're 1 point from the relegation zone.
Yeah, they're back in the relegation battle.
Yeah, exactly. Nottingham Forest won 2-1 against Manchester United. You love to see it.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing. Fulham won 2-1 as well against Arsenal, which means they've lost 2 in a row now. And Tottenham won 3-1 over Bournemouth. So looking at the ladder, I don't know if Liverpool... Yeah, Liverpool played tomorrow against Newcastle, and City's next game is on Sunday against Newcastle. So both of them on 19 games at the moment. So they have a game in hand on Aston Villa, who is equal top with Liverpool, just minus a couple of goal difference. City are in third, 2 points away from top. Arsenal now are in 4th with 40 points. Tottenham are in 5th, and then just outside the top 5, West Ham, Manchester United, Brighton, Newcastle United, Chelsea are in the top 10. Woo! Somehow. Wolves are in 11th. Bournemouth, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, after a couple of good games since they sacked their manager, are in 15th. Brentford have fallen down a little bit. They are in 16th. Everton now, with that 10-point deduction, are 1 point outside of the relegation zone in 17th. Then you have, of course, the 3 cellar dwellers in Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield United round out the Premier League table. I don't know. Like, the January transfer window obviously starts tomorrow for most people. Today for most people, tomorrow for others. This is obviously going out tomorrow. So on Thursday. So it started with the with the power of editing. Anyway, Everton are in a real dangerous spot here. Yeah. I know that their 10-point deduction could be seen as unfair. I mean, if you break the law, I guess you kind of deserve it. Maybe Manchester City should lose some of their points. But anyway, they are in real danger here of dropping. Yeah. And Brentford aren't too far away. They're 19 points. They haven't done well the last few games. They're in a pretty dangerous spot. Do you see Everton dropping still? They are finally over the halfway mark. They've played 20 games. Luton have actually got a game in hand on them. So
yeah, I still don't think they do.
You think they've got enough?
Even if they don't get that 10 points back, I don't think they drop.
Yeah, but if they get them back, they won't drop.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, right now, if they didn't have the 10-point deduction, they'd be sitting in 12th. Sorry. So that would be very, very interesting. Luton Town, they nearly got Chelsea, and they could have deserved it. But
the thing is that they lost at home, but they gave it a good run. They gave it a good shot,
and they've done really well at home too.
Yeah.
Aston Villa as well, sitting in second. They do have they've played an extra game in City and Liverpool. Who do you think wins it from here? If you had a quick guess now, I know you don't want to say.
Still say City.
You still say City.
I'll still say City until they're mathematically not there.
Yeah. They're going to be hard to beat. And they still haven't got Haaland back or De Bruyne yet. So I
Yeah,
don't know
De
when
Bruyne has just come back from injury. He's still training, and Haaland, they don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when they both come back, they're going to be extremely hard.
The interesting one for at the moment now is that all the Asian players and the African players have gone on their cup games.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think Chelsea won't be able to field a good team going into the next couple of the next month or so because a lot of their players are African Club of Nation selections.
And like Tottenham lost their captain, obviously Son. Liverpool lose Salah, and
they do lose Salah too.
Yeah, because of the African nations.
Yeah, because Egypt. I would assume that there'd be a few other players, like just even fill-in players, like Endo for Liverpool would be gone. Obviously, Wang for Wolves.
Yeah, I think he'd be playing.
Yeah, he'd be playing.
Surely he would be picked. So it's going to be interesting this couple of weeks, or probably the next month of soccer.
Yeah, as well, because
for that reason.
Yeah, because it'd be interesting if that maybe Aston Villa will start to grow, because I don't really think they have a lot of players.
They wouldn't have lost many.
Yeah, and they've got some of the best players like Ollie Watkins and stuff who haven't been they've been in good form, but not in the best at the moment. But the likes of them, they wouldn't be losing a lot of big players, I can imagine. And I don't think City are either.
No, City wouldn't have lost many players either.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
And even Arsenal, I don't know. I mean, Liverpool aren't losing a lot, but they're losing a couple.
Yeah.
Which I still think I don't know why they play those big cup tournaments at the end of at this point. But anyway, lastly we get to the NFL chat now. It's a little bit hard this week because some of the games are actually still going on. Right now, the Packers are playing the Vikings. They lead 10-0. Falcons lost.
Wait. The Packers lead 10-0.
Yeah, the Vikings. You put a bet on it or something.
No.
Anyway, the Falcons lost. That's embarrassing. I think they've got a mathematical chance of making the playoffs now, which basically means you haven't made it.
Yeah. I just think it's funny. The Jaguars shut out the Panthers.
Yeah.
The team that the Falcons beat.
Yeah, but going way back to the start of the round, so to speak, the Jets lost to the Browns 37-20. Not a big deal there. But one of the best games of the round, I think, so far, would have to be the Cowboys versus the Lions.
Yeah.
Did you see the controversial end of that game?
It took nearly 10 minutes to finish the last
play, because I think the first play they did, the Detroit got it in, but there was a flag thrown.
Yeah.
Because they were going for the 2-point conversion, which I
don't know what they were doing.
I understand, you want to be the big man, wanting to get the 2 points to win the game. But at the end of the day, you had a field goal, a 1-point conversion. All you had to do was get the kicker out there and kick the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it to overtime. I know that there's a lot of people who be like, oh, yeah, but they're being the big man, I understand they want to go for the weird, you've seen them.
I'd rather go for top seed, getting the week off, than try and be
the big guy.
Yeah,
I mean, you've seen the movie.
In OT. You've win it in OT.
You've seen the longest yard when they go for the 2 points or whatever, the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
The movie Adam Sandler and Chris Rock.
Yeah.
I understand the movie part of your throne is this is going to be a movie period for me. I'm going to get a 2-point conversion and win the game off my own pass or whatever. But it's the end of the day. Go for the 1 point. Go to OT.
Yeah.
That was, I think, a dumb decision.
Yeah, I thought it was a dumb.
I guess you could make it that point, but also if they convert it, they're
but I thought it was funny that the last play, the actual last play, the guy I don't know who tried to catch it, but he's literally running back with his back to the end zone. So he was always running back, and Goff throws it, and he because he's running as he throws it, he hits his foot.
Yeah, that Goff pass was not good at all.
The Goff pass was crap. And
even if the receiver caught it,
he wasn't falling in the end zone because there was a Baltimore player Cowboy player right behind him.
Yeah, and he was running back towards the end zone. Yeah, so he'd have to do a back jump to get it over the end zone.
By the time he caught it, I think he was still 2 yards from it.
Yeah, he was still a yard or two from the end zone. So the best he would have done was maybe get it to the 1 yard line, which obviously wouldn't have counted, so it wouldn't have mattered. So that was a good game though, and the Cowboys are right in the hunt to get to the top seed. So that's big for them. Like we've said, if they can get a home final, they're going to be hard to beat. Broncos beat the Chargers, big deal. Chiefs beat the Bengals, big deal.
No,
I mean the Chiefs.
Well, actually, Kelsey's run still goes on. Still no touchdown.
Still no touchdown. Embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm going to keep calling that every week until he gets one.
Yeah. Yeah, you're such a Swiftie fan, aren't you?
No.
The Ravens smashed the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think that was a huge statement. I think they clinched top spot now.
They would have.
Yeah, I think they clinched it. So.
And the Dolphins, we've had this
I've been saying it for months.
We've been saying it for a bit. The Dolphins' defense is going to be their issue going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they got absolutely demolished. Texans did well against the Titans, winning 26-3. Bills had a bit of a run against the Patriots, but were able to get over the line there. Rams just win by 1 over the Giants, and I think they clinched their playoff spot with that win. 49ers did well and beat the Commanders, big deal. What?
Oh,
the Rams clinched their playoff spot with that game, with that win. Cardinals beat the Eagles. I don't know how the fuck they did that.
Yeah, that's one.
The Eagles really dropping off at the end of the season. I think they've won 1 of their past 5 or something, or 2 of their past 6. Yeah, they're not doing very well at all. Saints won against the Bucks, which was somewhat of a good victory for the Falcons, but they couldn't.
Then they coughed it.
They got absolutely bottled against the fucking Bears and lose 37-17. How do you do that? Jaguars, like you said, shut out the Panthers. Colts beat the Raiders, and the Raiders are out. Big deal. And the Packers are currently up 10-0, as we said, against the Vikings. But you bring up the standings if you want to, and then we can bring up.
Yeah.
And looking at it actually right now, the Cowboys, because of that loss to the Eagles, currently have the top spot for the NFC. I think it's South, NFC East. Sorry, I don't know exactly what.
So he did. So San Francisco now have clinched the bye week. So they have clinched the bye week now. With top spot. Then the Cowboys, Lions, and the Bucks somehow still clinch onto the NFC South. Somehow.
So right now there is only in the NFC there is 1 spot left in the playoffs for the season.
So it's Seattle's to lose at the moment.
They've got the Saints on their tail with the Vikings, Packers, Bears, and the Falcons still on their tail. Look, at this stage, if the Packers can beat the Vikings, that game's really interesting. Whoever wins that game gives themselves somewhat of a chance.
Yeah.
If they don't win, whoever loses it probably misses out, I would say. By the end of the week, though, eliminated only 4 teams in the NFC. There's still a lot of teams still somewhat of a chance. You got the Giants, Commanders, Cardinals, and the Panthers all been eliminated. But you can see there the AFC is rule the roost, obviously, is the Ravens, 13-3. I think we said last week they are the team to beat.
I've said it a couple weeks ago that the Ravens are the ones
to beat at this moment.
Yeah.
Then we've got the Dolphins, Chiefs, Jaguars, who have actually still not clinched a playoff berth just yet.
I think in their conference that all the Jags, Colts, and the Texans are all on the same, isn't it?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So right now the Jaguars, with that win, they shut out the Panthers. Big deal. That's their first win in their past 5 games as well. They finally got a win on the board, so it keeps themselves in that top spot. But the Browns have secured their spot in the AFC playoffs. The Bills still haven't locked in their spot yet, but they're almost locked in.
They're pretty much there.
And then the Colts, the Texans, and the Steelers are the only teams left who can make playoffs now.
I think if the Steelers get there, it'll be an easy win for whoever plays them. I'm sorry, the Steelers, they've been very inconsistent all season, the Steelers.
Yeah, well, you got the ladder there. So for the rest of the season, we got the Steelers. They play the Ravens next week, so they're gone.
Unless if the Ravens they're there, so they might.
They are there and they're on top. They may even take 2 weeks off because they'll have the week off, and they'll have the week off obviously for the week off the playoffs and the other one. So they may even take they may even rest a lot of players for it. Then we've got the Texans. The Texans are up against the Colts. That's a big game.
So that pretty much decides it.
Yeah, pretty much decides it, really. And the Bills
who do the Jags have last?
The Bills and the Jags. So the Bills have the Dolphins. That's a big game.
Yeah.
That's a big game. And the Jags, they have the Titans.
So pretty much, Jags will take the spot, take the division lead.
Yeah, so they'll probably take that. And then it's basically a fight between the Texans and the Colts, really.
Yeah, so whoever wins that takes the spot, obviously. Because I don't think the Steelers will beat Baltimore.
I doubt it.
Even if
they do, I still think the Colts and the Jags would still take the spot, wouldn't they? Because I think they would. Depends on who's won more games in their division, in their conference, I believe.
So the AFC, at the moment the Texans have... we're looking at conference, aren't we? Division. Yeah, at the moment division, Colts have won more, 7-4 to 6-5 Texans.
Yeah. So
if the Colts win, they'll obviously get it. But if the Texans win, they'll win it on AFC result, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's
more
how
on the AFC side. Yeah,
I think that's how it works. Yeah. Sorry, we're not exactly connoisseurs of the NFL. We do follow it, but it's still a little bit harder to follow things like playoffs and stuff when it gets to this close. But it's going to be very interesting next week. Next week we'll have to work out schedules and stuff because I know my brother's got a bit of a different work schedule, obviously coming off of New Year's Eve. So we'll have to take a look at that. But that's basically all the NFL chat and the podcast for this week, guys. Another over an hour episode for you. Aren't you guys fucking lucky? Yeah. Aren't they fucking lucky? Yeah, guys, basically all from us at the moment. Really going to be trying to grow hard going into the AFL season for 2024. I'll have to talk to you about how we're going to do the podcast going into 2024 as well. When we go to the AFL season, maybe we'll have to do 2 a week for the Boundary Riders podcast. Aren't you guys lucky? We may have to, but we'll not have to. We'll want to because we love it.
We love it.
We love it. We love everything about this. And especially if you leave a dumb as fuck comment. I don't think I'd get many on the Boundary Riders. A couple of times on the Twinners podcast, I've got I've got a couple on here, but that's not people who watch this. Only people with an IQ above ours listen to this because they're such smart people. Thank you for watching today, guys. Make sure to leave us 5 stars on Spotify. Forgot to mention it every single week. If you want to check us out on Patreon, I forgot it again. I was going to do it in between because we went for so long with the coach talk, I completely forgot about it. But if you guys want to check us out on Patreon, we have this podcast going out early, probably a couple of days early now because obviously this will be coming out on the regular Thursday. So if you want to check that out, link will be down below. We also have the Twinners podcast that we do, kind of a comedy podcast, and we talk about shit and a couple of funny news stories. That comes out a couple of weeks early. So if you guys want to check that out, we also get Boundary Riders videos early as well. So if you want to check any of that out, the link will be down below. If you are listening on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars because we really want to grow this just before the AFL season begins. And if you are on YouTube, of course, make sure to like and subscribe, all those good things. Make sure to check out our other socials as well, as you keep on making the TikToks, and they're not too bad. So that's that's what we're growing this shit. We're going to try and do it as much as we can. We absolutely love doing this sort of stuff, and we'd really like to grow and get more people listening to us, listening to our absolute nonsense and opinions about the AFL and other sports that are definitely wrong.
Yeah, we're not going to lie, we do rant a bit.
Oh, definitely.
That's what goes for an hour.
That's what goes for an hour, but I enjoy it. It's really good fun to talk about the different sports around here and sports around the world that we don't have a lot of knowledge about, but we act like we do. We act like we do. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you all next week.
See you later, guys.